Ever wondered why those last few rare blades are so hard to get, or why you only got a common from that legendary core crystal? Well, wonder no more. Maybe. I've been scouring the internet reading tidbits, anecdotal evidence, and some general beliefs that people have about the summoning system in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You'll see people saying things like luck does affect it, luck doesn't affect it, boosters are only good for getting certain elements, boosters don't affect rare blade summon rates, boosters do affect rare blade summon rates, and about a million other things. But from all of this, nobody has really looked at the system as a whole or tried to understand it. They've basically just done some simple, low sample size tests and come to their own conclusions about singular things. That's where this video comes in. I'm not going to say this is 100% concrete and that it is definitely how it works, but I have combined everything we know with a whole lot of personal testing and some things that I've never seen mentioned into one coherent theory that just fits. And it does a good job of explaining why some people might see things like luck and boosters helping while others do not. What kicked this off was actually something I've only seen people complain about and not actually try to understand. The unskippable segment of the cutscene right as you choose a core crystal. While sitting through one of the many summon-a-thons I've done trying to get the last of the rare blades, I noticed that this unskippable cutscene was unskippable for a reason. It's an integral part of the summoning process. During this unskippable cutscene, 3 blades flash above your head, but did you notice that the third one to flash above your head is always the blade that is actually summoned? If you don't believe me, go ahead and do this yourself. Whichever blade is the last to be flashed above your head in this part of the cutscene is the blade that is actually summoned 100% of the time, whether this be a common or a rare blade. At first I thought that the 3 blades flashed were the pool that your summoned blade is selected from, but as I've found, it's only ever the last one that actually gets summoned, so why show the other 2 in the first place? If all the game wanted to do was tease what you could potentially summon, it would just flash any 3 blades up there and have the actual summon be a surprise, but then there would be no reason for this cutscene to be unskippable. I think that most people believe the summon system to be something like drawing names out of a hat or a simple lottery, but this kind of system doesn't mesh with conflicting reports of boosters, luck, and other things affecting your chances of getting a rare blade. So what I'm going to posit is that the system is actually a roulette wheel, or rather a carnival wheel like the one used in the Wheel of Fortune. That unskippable part of the cutscene in which 3 blades flash above your head is actually playing in real time as the spindle clicks past the last couple of prizes, with the last one being where it lands. It's an important distinction because the ways in which luck or boosters could affect your chances in a simple lottery are vastly different from the ways they affect your chances in a roulette. One would assume in a lottery system that luck would affect your chances simply by increasing the odds by a set percentage for you to pull certain blades. It just makes a random number generator slightly less random. But in my theorized system, luck could do one of 2 things, or both. Luck could increase the number of times a rare blade appears on the wheel. If by default each blade only has 1 instance on the wheel, adding another spot for the rare blade without removing other blades would still increase your chances, but it doesn't really make it any less random. It's still a spin of the wheel. Luck could also work by removing certain common blade spaces. With high luck, anecdotally, I get very few, if any, 1-star commons. Luck could scale as to begin removing low quality commons from the wheel, thus making the wheel smaller and increasing your chances of a rare blade, but again, not making it any less random. The second part of that guess is how I would directly explain what impact a core crystal's quality has on summoning. A common core crystal would start you with a wheel that contains every single common blade variety. That includes star rarity as well as weapon and element, along with the rare blades you have yet to summon. But on such a vast wheel, the rare blades are barely a blip on the radar, which is why you won't often see one pop up during the unskippable cutscene at all when using a common crystal. but you will see them more often when using a rare core crystal, and when using a legendary, I can't even remember a time where I didn't see a rare blade pop up as one of the 3 flashes. This would be because a legendary core crystal limits the wheel to only rare blades and high star rarity commons, eliminating huge amounts of trash, but still not making this process any less random. Now, on the topic of boosters, a lot of people have found that using certain boosters increases their chances of getting certain elements of common blades, which could be exactly how boosters work to change your odds. Having a really high justice, say, could remove certain elements from the wheel entirely. Not only does this increase the chance you'll get a particular element, it will also increase your chance of getting a rare blade simply by making the wheel smaller. Some may wonder why I'm fixated on things like boosters and luck, and it's because, despite what some people may say about them not affecting rare blade summon rates, both are specifically mentioned in-game to increase your chances. Luck was mentioned in a tutorial, and boosters are mentioned in one of the items from an informant vendor, and as I've explained, I think they do affect your chances, just not in the way you might have thought. Something else was on my mind during all this theorizing though, and that was a comment from Takahashi in an interview prior to release where he said that not all rare blades will be rare. And if you've done any kind of forum diving or even just looking in YouTube comments, you'll notice that a vast majority of the player base get a large amount of the rare blades around the same time in their playthroughs, with a few outliers. While some are notoriously hard to summon, so how does that fit in with the wheel theory? It's actually pretty simple. In the early hours of the game, not all rare blades are available to summon. They simply aren't on the wheel yet, but that isn't the only type of blade not on the wheel. You aren't going to be summoning 4-star rarity common blades in Chapter 3. They simply aren't on the wheel. It's either tied to level or story progression, but I believe that both rare blades as well as higher rarity tiers of commons are added to the wheel over time. This would mean that the wheel is much smaller in the beginning, making summoning the rare blades on that wheel much easier than later in the game. But more importantly, there appears to be a crucial point in time where a majority of the rare blades are added to the wheel when 4-star rarity commons are not, meaning there is a section of time in the game, somewhere in the middle, where the average player summons a majority of their rare blade collection. This theory also explains why you don't just auto-summon a rare blade in the endgame when you've stacked 1 billion luck and maxed boosters. While these stats are at their highest, the wheel is also at its largest. And not only that, you have far fewer rare blades to summon at this point, meaning they take up less spaces on the wheel. Really, the only thing luck, boosters, and high rarity core crystals are doing for you in the endgame is mitigating how much worse off you are at this point compared to the middle of your playthrough. I had one other theory that is semi-related to this one, but it goes down a path of it still being a wheel of sorts, but instead of it just spinning, it actually moves a set number of spaces. Boosters and core crystal rarity would reduce the amount of common blade spaces, and luck would decrease or increase the amount of spaces the selector moved. This system would mean that there could be a combination of these 3 elements that is actually detrimental for you, and that system is actually incredibly precise and nuanced. For example, let's say the selector always moves 10 spaces, and there is a rare blade on the 18th space. Using a rare core crystal drops some commons from their spaces, moving that first rare blade space down to 14th, and using 5 justice boosters luckily removes another 4, bringing the rare space down to 10th. But your high luck has increased the amount of spaces the selector moves by 2. Now you'll actually brush past that rare blade. It is a decent way of explaining how luck and boosters affect the system, but not in a way players expect, and thus lead people to conflicting personal experiences. However, there doesn't appear to be this kind of precise rhyme or reason from my personal experience. I think it works more like the prize wheel as discussed earlier in the video, but I wanted to mention this alternate theory here as something for people to scratch their heads over. And that about wraps it up. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of advice that can come from this information, other than get your luck stat high, get your ideas high, and use high rarity core crystals, just as the game says, and just like you're probably already doing. They do increase your chances, but in the late game they don't increase them the way you think they do. If you're somewhere in the middle though, and finding yourself summoning a few rare blades, you may be in the sweet spot, and you should probably try and extend your visit in that point of time and do some core crystal farming. So what do you think about this? Do you have a theory of your own? I'd love to hear it, so jump down to the comments section, and while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that would also be awesome. Check out the links in the video description to follow me on social media, or to find out how you can support the channel and more great content like this. Have a good day or night, and I'll see you all soon.